All right. We are in the 2021 Summer Major. We got brand new holes. Wiseacre. It's in Texas. Luckily, it's virtual, so we don't have to go to Texas. That's the deal. Let's check them out. I have not played a single one of these holes. I'm kind of disappointed in the fact that we can't go, they're not in regular play. So we can't just go into some tour and play them. I have no idea. I have a full idea. They they want us to have practice tokens. So there's no practicing out here. We can't just go play a tour. We have to do it all in practice. We can't do it in one-on-one. It's kind of a bummer that you can't just come out here and play them on any one of these in just regular tour play. I understand the business model. I mean, they make more money if we're buying practice tokens. So I've got 13 practice tokens right now. I do have a tee on that's giving me more practice tokens. So we'll check them out. So I got some high def photos here. So hole number 1 is a par 4. Now I'm pretty sure you can make it on. The question is since I haven't played the holes, is like how big of a ball you have to get in order to get to this side right here so that you can really make a run towards the green. Now, if you don't have a ball inventory that can get you over there and you're having to hit from this side, this is definitely a big topper hole. But we'll go out there and see what it looks like when we're on the course. So let me set up let me make sure I got a couple bags set up. Extra Mile rock, big topper and a cataclysm bag. Extra Mile and a cataclysm bag. I'm going to switch this one up. All right. Now, I'm going to just see what ball it takes on these holes, but if we need a bigger power ball, I'll just stick with a Titan right now. I'm probably not going to. I may on some of these holes bring out a Power 5 ball or something just so that we can see what's possible, but we'll just play with the king of balls as much as possible. See what happens. All right, first time on any of these holes, so let's see how it goes. This is the first time they've come out with new holes in a long time. Seems like it was I think my teammate Kyle said it was last like the Haunted Hills or one of the like Halloween tournaments. I want to give a shout out to my teammate Terry. Welcome back to the clan. Terry's having a little bit of issues. I talked to him the other day. He lives in England. I called him up. It was like 11 o'clock, and we played some one-on-one and just talked on the phone until about 1 in the morning. All right, here we go. Here we go. So we obviously can get over there. They're in that range with a 1 power ball. Now, if we can get over to the other side, I mean, that's got to be the goal. I think even if you can't get over there and you're trying to just get onto the other side, bring in a big topper, and instead of going towards this finger, got a bigger fairway over on the left-hand side. See what we got here. So I can make it over. It's 1.5 per ring, so 4 or 5, that's 3 rings. So I should be able to make it over with that. Let's see what that kind of distance gives me. All right, let's adjust out that wind. See if I can hit it perfect. And 1 ring great to the right. Just a little short. Just a bit outside. Four power ball there. I probably could have made it over. So you can tell right there from where the wind was going, it's 1.5 per ring, and I was like 3.5 rings out. So that would be like 4.5 plus 7.5. Be like 5.2. You can see how much it laid that ball down. So it was definitely affecting it more than what the wind was saying. So what do we got here? Where am I at my club? There's max. So I'm pretty much at max club, which is 1.1 per ring. I switched to my Kingfisher because when I upgraded my Hornet, of course, if you have a Hornet and you've been playing for a long time and you're like, oh, if I could get my Hornet to 100% accuracy. And what I found is that when it got to 100% accuracy, it wasn't hitting the same as it was before. So it's 1.1 per ring. So that's 2, that leaves me 4. So it's a little less than a half. Hitting it perfect. That's just a straight up wind adjustment. Just a bit outside. And so the wind pushed me off there. So if I pulled out my trusty dusty calculator. And we'll use my calculator from now on so I can end up with a more accurate. So I moved it we may need to add on a little bit if we're in headwind there. Which kind of tracks with what happened on the drive. On the drive, I should have added on a little bit, just a straight up. It did affect the ball more than what it said it was going to. I think that hole right there, we're definitely going to be. You could definitely get closer, probably in wedge range, for sure, off on the left-hand side with a bigger power ball, or if we get some kind of tailwind, we'll definitely be able to make that with a 3 power ball with some tailwind. So that hole right there is, let me make some notes here. And I used my APOC. I prefer to use my extra mile on that because we could get more top spin, especially if you got an upper developed extra mile. But the APOC gives you that extra 3 yards of raw power. So I'm going to put APOC or EM and power 3 plus. And I may think about, if it's a headwind, adding on just a little bit onto the second shot. We'll have to see what that looks like if I can get up into my wedge range. All right, that was hole number 1, that par 4. That's definitely going to be an eagleable hole. If we can get up there into our short iron, and if you clear and don't end up catching this rough in here and just bleeding out like I did, if you can get that shot to clear there, you're really going to be up into that range. So I think we have a serious chance of getting an eagle here, and this is definitely going to be a hole, if you've got bigger power balls, that you're going to want to think about using one on this hole. Faux show. All right, hole number 2 is par 3. Now, I'm going to go straight at it. We'll have to see what the, there might be some way of doing a rough bump here, but I think it looks to me like this is going to be one of those ones that we're just going to go straight at. And I'm not sure what the distance is here, whether we're in our long iron or our wood. It looks pretty short, so I have to say we're probably in our long iron. If I can get my phone to work, so I can get my calculator working. Get my auto rotate to go. There we go. Calculator, where is it? I'm going to just do straight up. So today, it's purely practice. So today, my whole goal is I'm not really going to think about. Now, if it's obvious that the hole's way downhill or way uphill, I may make an adjustment. But the main thing when you're first practicing is just shoot your straight up numbers and see whether or not you need to make an adjustment. Hole number 2. That way you have a baseline, so you can go back. This is why it's so important to record your own video. And there's a bunch of screen recorders that you can get out there. I use DU Recorder, but there's a bunch of them that are just like it. I don't think DU Recorder is on in the Play Store anymore. I'm I'm going to switch to a Grizzly just so I can get a little better ball guide. My Grizzlies also, the thing is that for those of you who have played for a long time, the Grizzly used to be arguably one of the crappiest clubs in the game. It's 1 per ring, so we're right at about 3 rings. When they did the club card trading, they changed a few clubs the week before. Hit it 1 ring great to the right. They changed a few clubs the week before, and the Grizzly got completely reworked. So now 1 ring great to the right, and the wind pushed it off. I'd like to see what that would look like perfect before I'd make any adjustments on that. But I think if we do make an adjustment on that, it's going to be really small. And with a 3 power ball, you're in your long iron. Now, if you were playing with a Goliath, you probably bring a little bit lower ball because it hits so much farther. But the thing, going back on the Grizzly, when they buffed several of the clubs before the club card trading came out, and then when the club card trading came out, they added some levels, but they completely reworked the Grizzly because it was just a crappy club all the way around. And for a Tour 6 club, it really was like useless. Like nobody would, like the only time you ever play with a Grizzly is when you were like checking it out and then you forgot to change it. Nobody played with a Grizzly. It was like nobody. And while it has a lot of stuff and it's awesome, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's like you get the benefit from all that stuff. I played a lot before that with people play with a Backbone, and I never really liked the Backbone. I played a lot with a Saturn. And the reason I like a Saturn is because it's such a great utility club. If you get on one of those holes, or especially when you're playing one-on-one, you get on something where you need backspin, you need topspin, you need curl, you need whatever it is, it's a pretty good utility club. I mean, it can get just about anything done. If you can't get it done with a Saturn, you would like it to have a little bit better ball guide, but it's a great utility club. And going up to the Grizzly, it's got a lot of stuff too, and it's got better ball guide. And it's more accurate. But it just doesn't seem like doesn't it almost feel like in the game that the more accurate the club is, you get penalized? Like you get a club that's like a 1.9, 2.0 per ring, and that you can sink shots with it. Like it's got a little bit more variance. Like you don't have to be so precise because it's not quite as accurate a club. But when you've got those really tight, accurate clubs, if just a little teeny bit off, it'll penalize you for it. Whereas if you've got a lower accuracy club, it almost doesn't. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about those clubs, and I'm not the only one that feels that way about those types of clubs, that you almost get penalized when it's more accurate. At least it feels that way. All right, this par 5. Now, the obvious choice here, like not knowing which one of these pads that we can get to as far as with what club, like whether we can actually get up into this area. But I mean, the obvious choice is to hit up into this area. The thing about hitting up into this area, just my first impressions of it is when you're coming into the hole. Let's see, let's take a little bit closer look. That's as close as I can get. It's always nice to have more run. So like if you were coming into the green here, you've got more fairway to work with. So you don't necessarily have to have a club that has a lot of backspin or put a lot of movement on it. You can start back a little bit and then run it up to the cup. It looks like I think the pin might be right there. So even if we're coming in from this angle, it might be a little bit difficult. Whereas if you're coming in from this side, this may be in contention, but you might be able to do a rough bump there too if you had a club that's got a lot of topspin. So we have some options here, whether or not we're going to this side or whether going to this side. I think really going to this side right here, it really just depends on whether we can get up into this area, and I'm not sure that that's possible. I mean, it looks like a pretty good size par 5. I will bring my number 1 bag, and we're just going to go out and play it. We'll play it with the Titan, the king of balls. Here we go. exciting to play. Some of these holes, I was talking to my teammate Mike D, and he was like, some of these holes look very similar to other holes that we played. When the game first came out, so you got a Power 5 ball, you can get up into this area right here if you got a power ball. Especially if you have an upper developed extra mile, you can definitely, with a Power 4 ball, Power 5 ball, get up into that area. I'm going to start off over here. Now, the deal is where's that second bounce? So I put curl on it. I can't put too much curl on it, otherwise it'll end up in that area, but I'm going to need to put some in order to get the ball to go in that direction. 4-2. It's 2.1 per ring, so there's 4-2. Puts me about half a ring into power. That was like 7,000 rings. Great. That was, I can't believe that wasn't good. It'll make that, but it'll clip the rough right here. So just like on hole number 1, missing that fairway, there's a lot of distance you could get up in there. And you could get into that spot that I was talking about where you can come at it using this fairway. And the farther you get up in there, the more you're going to be going straight to the hole. So if you're just barely getting over into this area, I'd say that you're probably going to need a ball that's got some side spin. I may play this hole twice and play it from the other side. We'll play it once from this side and see what it looks like. But if we can get that far up there and just bring out a power ball. A lot of people ask me why I didn't play the Wilderness Tournament. And the reason I didn't play the Wilderness Tournament is going through the holes, there was 24 to 28 Power 5 balls if you really wanted to be. Now you can see my angle. If I was like right in this area right here, I'd have that straight up angle and I wouldn't really need any side spin. But from here you could also do a rough bump. And if I hit it any farther forward, I'd be out of the range where I wouldn't be able to do the rough bump. So we have some options here depending on what kind of shot you want to take. Grizzly. And I didn't check to see where I was in my club, but I must be pretty close to max. I'm just going to do a straight up adjustment. There's 3-4. Hitting it perfect. Let's see right there where it hit. That was about where I had set it up. Good to go in the hole. First time I ever played a hole. Albie, look at that. Woo! So depending on where you want to get and how you want to take that, if you want to do that rough bump, if I would have hit any farther forward on this hole, I actually would have taken myself out of the rough bump range and I would have had to go straight at it. So if you're trying to do the rough bump, the deal is you don't want to hit it as far as you can out there. So ending up with clipping that rough. Let's go back and look at that hole. So we have some options. Let's see what our options are here. Good game. Let's exit out of that. Let's go check that out. So from that side, and it looks like if you're hitting it up into this area, if you hit it up into this area, it's not gonna be ball dependent. So like if you're trying to get over to this fairway, depending on which way the wind's blowing, if we had a tailwind there, the Power 3 ball would have been fine, even with the way it was. If I hadn't hit it 75 rings great to the left, I probably could have made it over. The deal is that the farther you go to the left, the longer you have to hit it in order to get that bounce. And if you're putting on any curl to get it to go out into this area, you have to watch that second bounce, because your first bounce is here. Your second bounce, trying to you put that curl on, and it doesn't take a lot of curl, and you'll actually over curl it and clip it, but trying to get that forward run. But if I would have ended up out in this area, I would have taken that rough bump, I think, out of play. So where I was at as far as using the rough bump, I was in a pretty good spot. But if you're hitting over to this area, if you do your arc from the tee box, getting out to the tip down here, you're going to have a pretty straight up shot. And this area here on this rough, this tee, this is probably not a bad spot to hit, and you're not going to necessarily have to bring out a bigger ball. Now you may find yourself, if you're, and the thing about this is you can probably bring out a big topper. with a power 3 ball, and you'll net more yardage with your big topper and a Titan than you would with your extra mile and a Titan, just because of all that topspin, and you've got this pure fairway running down. So this might not be the bad area to run if we're going to do that rough bump, because I think we could put ourselves in it. The other thing to keep in mind here is wind direction. So, you know, if you think about different winds, like having the wind at your back here, if you hit out into this area, you're now hitting against the slight side wind. Where if the wind was blowing in this direction and you hit out here, now you're hitting against the slight side wind. So like watching the wind, if you're doing that rough bump, trying to get it so that the wind is as much behind you, especially if it's on this side of the line. Or if you've got a due headwind, it's easier to make adjustments against an absolutely due headwind than it is against any kind of the side. So you may want to keep both of these shots in your bag. So depending on which way the wind's blowing, it may be better to come out here and do this shot. If you've got any kind of positive wind, it may be better to come out of here. But I really think on this side right here, on this side, that if you hit out here, you could actually hit it too far to do the rough bump. I mean, that's not a problem because you can still take that shot. But if you're playing in the upper divisions and you're hitting out here and you're bringing out some big clubs and some big power balls and you hit it way up in this area, you may take out the option to do the rough bump. And when you're dealing with secondary wind effect, that may pose some hazards. So you'll have to, depending on your clubs, kind of figure out what's the best area and how you want to approach it. Because not everybody likes rough bumps. A lot of people like rough bumps, but not everybody likes rough bumps. I'm going to play this hole one more time, and I'm going to play it from this side just so I can see what it looks like. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. Had to go talk to a man about a horse. Been drinking coffee all morning, sitting here looking at the stuff. It's always hard to start the videos. You're getting ready and you're starting it, but like once you start it, you're okay. But like just getting the start of it. I'm gonna play this hole one more time, and I'm gonna hit it out here because I want to see like what that shot looks like from that direction. Because I think overall that might be, that might be the better way to go. And the wood should not play a factor here, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it just like it is. Looking for the big top. Let's go look at that one more time. Let's make sure I got... I'm going to change the Saturn out. I know I was talking about the Grizzly earlier, but I'm going to... I'll take it just so we can see what the deal is on it. Kingfisher. Yeah, and if you look at the Kingfisher versus the Hornet... That 100%, like the Hornet was what, 96, I think, when it's at level 8. And, I was like, oh man, if you could get your Hornet to 100%, it'd just be that much better. But for me, the way that I played my Hornet before, it ruined it when I went to 100%. And it's just never been quite the same club. I haven't been as successful with it as I have with my Kingfisher. Well, I haven't been as successful as when the numbers were in the 94, 96%. And I've been playing with the Kingfisher now for a couple weeks, and I feel like I've had a lot of success with it. And it almost feels like I'm back to the days when if you hit it perfect, bam, it's in the hole. And what's been happening is I hit that Hornet perfect, and it doesn't go in the hole, and it's pissing me off. Oh, I almost screwed up there. Let's go back one. Let's play that par 5 again. What was I thinking? Whew, I'm lucky I didn't get matched up right away. I told you I'd play it, and I don't even know what the next hole looks like. So here we go. Let's go hit this straight down the course and see what happens. See what that look is. Because it looks to me like if you're hitting it straight down the course, especially with this wind right here, this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you come in here and you go, hey, this is the shot that I'm going to take, and you hit it here, when you go to the hole, you're going to have a slight side wind. Whereas if I hit it down here, I'm now going to be with a pure tailwind going to the cup. And my big topper at this level is same accuracy as my extra mile. It's 2.1 per ring. I'm going to put any distance I lost back on. Slight bit of overpower. Just rubbing the nubs. Not enough to make the needle go any faster, but enough to let me know that I'm in power. And let's try and get as much distance as we can down there. And that is about as much distance as I could get. So I like, consistency wise, hitting to the right down there, and as far as like ball inventory wise, you're not going to have to, because if you're here and you get the wrong wind, it may be a little bit more problematic depending on your clubs to get over to the other side. And you can see where their second bounce is at. Now we've got a tailwind here, so they should clear it easily. And I really hope that they get way up in there so that we can see the angle. Man, I can't believe they clipped that. Not accounting for the wind enough. I really want to see somebody get way up in there so that we can see the angle, because I think it is just going to completely take out any rough bump opportunity. So we're in Grizzly. There's Max. So we're pretty close to Max. There's Mid. Kind of that in between. Now I've got a pure tailwind here, so I should get a pretty good read. There's 3, 5, a little less than 5. Ah! Hit it great to the left. One ring great. And where I bounced, that was in one ring great. So it looks pretty flat. So like we're not going to have to make an adjustment as far as like any percentage adjustment. We can just hit it straight at the cup using our normal wind adjustments. Now you can see where my opponent's at, hitting to this side, how they're hitting against a crosswind. So keeping eye of the wind and being able to adjust. If it's just a flat shot and we're just trying to get up there into our long iron range, and it doesn't really matter which side you're hitting to as far as the adjustment, watching the wind. So like in that case right there, like maybe you're in love with the shot that my opponent took, but the way the wind was blowing, it's like, hey, it would be better on this round to go to the right. And maybe the next time it'd be better to go to the left. So keeping your options open. I think just consistency wise, the right hand side might be, overall better, because you don't have to do any big overpower and you can get where you need to get with a 3-power ball. Whether it would have been headwind or tailwind, I still would have been able to get to that area. I may not have been able to get there. I still had a little bit of distance on my Grizzly, so if I was going against a headwind and I didn't quite get as far up as I was, I think I'd still be able to be in my Grizzly range. You may have to put just a titch more overpower if you're going against headwind, because your second shot's going to be against headwind as well, and so you need to leave yourself enough room to be able to work the wind out. But I see the benefit of both sides on that hole. Practice now. Hole number 4. Let's go check out hole number 4. It's a par 4. Hole number 4. All right. Now this hole right here, to me, almost screams max overpower hook, depending on where our arc is out here. So here's our tee box. Can we get to this area on the drive? Even if we could, because if you're hitting, I'm not a big fan of hitting out into areas like this. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see where our arc is at for our first bounce. Because if our first bounce is in this area, and this is as far as we can get, this does kind of scream max overpower hook. We do have a line of trees out here that we have to contend with, but we'll have to see let's go look and see where our bounces are at. I'm probably going to use my number 1 or my number 5 bag. My number 5 bag's got my Apocalypse in it. I got the Apocalypse here several weeks ago. I got the Apocalypse like 3 times in a week. I think I've got 73 of 100, so I'm getting close to getting my Apocalypse to level 6. It doesn't really start to get its stuff until level 7 when you get more ball guide. And that's one of the reasons why I use my extra mile a lot. And I get people that go, hey, how come you're not using your Apocalypse on that? It's because of the ball guide. if you can set the shot up and you get used to doing it, the Apocalypse has times when it's why are you frowning, boy? What's up? What's the deal? Are you all upset? And doesn't that scream max overpower hook? What the hell are you doing? I suppose they're gonna. What are you doing? Doesn't that look like it? Doesn't that second bounce look like it's just going to be in the sand or the water? What are you frowning about? Dude, that's exactly what it looked like you were going to do, and you didn't put any topspin on it. What are you thinking? Let's see what kind of distance we have out here. I mean, we could get into that area. If we wanted to do a max overpower hook, we'd have to go to a smaller ball. I'm going to do a rough bump out of that and see if I can catch that and just bump it over to the other side. I think I would have been able to do that if I'd hit it one ring great to the right, but I might have over just enough. Now that should put me up. I think we have some. I'm not sure that even with a power 5 ball, unless we had a tailwind, I'm not sure we could get over to that side. It would have been close. Like with a tailwind, I think we could, but like you can't always count on a tailwind. So if you have any headwind, I don't think it's going to be possible even with a power 5 ball to get over there consistently, but I think doing that little bump and getting out, at least being on that side, is going to give you a pretty good shot. But if you want to do a max overpower hook shot here, I think I'd have to go with like a quasar. And I don't feel like having this guy mess with me during the deal. What I got here? Kingfisher. Where am I at in my Kingfisher? There's Max Kingfisher. There's Min. So I count my Kingfisher at 2.2 per ring at Min. I'm going to do one backspin. So 2.2, that would leave me 7. That's a ring and a third. There's 1 and a third. Oh, 1 ring great to the right. 1 ring great to the right. So there's another hole right there that I think just doing a straight up adjustment. And if we do have to do any type of adjustment, it's going to be really small, like maybe just like +1 or not even a percentage, just a very slight adjustment. I think this is another hole we're going to be able to, now if we had a headwind there, that power 3 ball trying to get me over to do that rough bump may be a little bit problematic. I may have to pop out a power 4 ball in order to do it, but I don't really like the fact that you got to do max overpower. So, you know, I'm practicing right now with a Titan, but like consistency wise, you know, bringing out a power 5 ball so you don't have to do any overpower, even if you're still doing this rough bump off of here. Now, if you do if you got a favorable wind, so here's the line. Anything on this side of the line going forward is favorable wind. Anything on this side of the line is unfavorable wind. If you had some kind of favorable wind and you had in that spot right there, I mean, hell, my first bounce was like back in here. So I think even with a power 5 ball, my first bounce might have been able to clear. If I had a tailwind, that would have definitely helped me. But coming in from that distance and flying in here from the tee box, let's draw some lines here. So here's the flagpole going to the tee box. So coming into this area, you're going to have to, it's one of those ones where the farther you go to the left, you got to contend with this rough line. So you really want this area right here to be your target area for your first bounce. And so if you're off on that trajectory, you're going to have to bring it around the bend, and then it narrows up right there at the end. So I'm sure that you can get on in one, but I think consistency wise, just trying to get out into this area so that you're in your short iron. And I was pretty close to minimum and being in my wedge as opposed to being into my short iron. So with just a little bit more distance. I'm going to explore this shot right here. I think like where I was at with a power 3 ball, I was like out into this area right here, and we don't want to set up a max overpower hook. We want to use this right here for a max overpower hook if you're doing that. So bringing out like a quasar so that you can cut your distance down and get down into this area. It might, if you're using an extra mile and doing a max overpower hook shot, this might be too much angle for it, and you may need to bring out a special ball that has 3 side spin. Whereas if you were using an Apocalypse, a quasar might work for you with the 2 side spin on a quasar to get you over into that area. But I think we've got a pretty good shot if we can use this rough area just to bleed us out into this to get us into our short iron, possibly wedge. Now, if you bring out a bigger power ball, you brought out a 5 power ball, and you're specifically not trying to land on the fairway to get farther forward, because it may be problematic. It may be one of those things where it's hard to be consistent to get through this neck. If you're specifically trying to hit this rough area, it may be worth bringing out a power 5 ball, not so much for the first shot, but for the second shot. It'll help you on the first shot because you may not have to do any overpower if you've got any favorable wind. But on the second shot, it may put you in your maximum wedge as opposed to your minimum short iron. So we have some options down here depending on the clubs that you have on how we want to play that area. And I'm sure that there's tons of ways to play this, but if I can get closer to the green so that I'm in a short iron, and the deeper you get into your short iron, the better, or you can work yourself into wedge, it's always better than trying to hit out here. Now, let's say we do hit over into this area over here. If we hit over into this area, we do have a nice T rough bump that we can do right here. And this is looks like a pretty wide rough area. So we do have some options on that. So hitting out here, like if you can't, you just don't either have the ball inventory or you don't have the clubs to get yourself over into this area. And I don't like having to do this type of shot with max overpower because there is that does lower it down. If you're hitting out here with max overpower, instead of trying to work yourself so that you're in this, you can set your shot up more so that you're in dead center, so that if you hit it great to the left or the right, you're giving yourself more variance on either side, because the important thing here is to end up on this fairway. By coming up into this fairway area, bouncing from here, either trying to clear this or starting off to the side and trying to bring it around just a little bit so that you're in this area, you will have a nice little rough bump. So we have some options on this hole as well. Let's go back and play that one more time, and let's try it from this side over here, and let's see what it looks like, because I don't think you're going to have to bring a big ball if you hit it on that side. I think you could just bring out a normal ball. And once again, I'm going to play it with a Titan. And the reason I'm going to play it with a Titan, even if I don't need the Titan on the drive, is I'm going to play it with a Titan because on the second shot, I want to be as deep into whatever club as I can possibly get. And it could be one of those things where you get up in there and you find that you're in a red line issue where you're in between clubs. And I may have to drop down to like a Katana or even a Quasar and some lower ball just to make sure that the red line issue is right. And it's all going to be dependent on the clubs that you have in your bag. Let's see what I have in this bag. I've got a Saturn. Let me bring this bag right here. Give myself a little bit of room against the red line so that I can move over just a titch. Give myself a little bit more room on that second bounce. Now I'm going to put just a slight bit of curl on it. But you can't put too much, because that second bounce will clip the rough. Hitting it perfect. And that still might have been too much curl, right? Woo! Close. And so coming at it from this side, I think we have several options. It looks like we do have a nice little T rough bump here. We're probably closer to the hole, so if we can go from the other side and get on in one, but it may not always be possible. You may have a game plan and go, I'm going to use this ball, but if we get a bad wind, we get a headwind, we get an unfavorable wind, it may change your shot. So coming at these holes and having more than one shot in the bag and looking at the wind and going, okay, hey, that shot's not going to work, so I'm just gonna lay it up out there and come at it from this side. And the thing is, the way that the wind's blowing right here, I'm hitting against an absolutely due headwind. So my second shot, the setup on it is not quite as critical. So I'm in my Kingfisher. There's Max. And there's Min. So I'm in mid Kingfisher. Let's see. I'd have to have something with more topspin if I want to do that rough bump. But one of the cool things about a Kingfisher is when you first start playing, if you're new and you've got newer clubs, the second you get a Kingfisher, start thinking about using it. Because one of the things that you really don't have a lot of when you've got new clubs is backspin, and a Kingfisher's got pretty good numbers. So it's 1.9 per ring is how I play it. So that leaves me 6. So that's about a ring and a third. One ring great to the right. And that wind really laid it down. Maybe one less backspin than that if you're from that side. That might be a hole to bring out a Hornet, because a Hornet's got a little bit more topspin and you can do the rough bump from over there. And so you're only going to get the wind effect from the headwind on that particular one. You're only going to get the wind effect on until it hits the ground the first time, and then from that point forward, wind's not laying it down. So bringing out a Hornet, something that's got more topspin, may be the way to go. Now from the other side, I was in minimum short iron, and over there I was in mid. And mid's about as good as I'm going to get on that side. We want to explore our options on this. Don't get married to any one shot. Because we have variable wind, don't get married to one shot. Have several of these shots in your bag. Like maybe you don't have the ball inventory, and so like, hey, if you only have Mortal balls, you got Titans, you got Kingmakers. Maybe the shot to the left is great when you've got tailwinds, but when you've got any kind of headwind, maybe the shot to the right's better. And being able to make the adjustment based off of the wind that we're getting, instead of just being married to one shot. You see it all the time when you're playing one-on-one. You get on a hole and you look at the wind and you're like, hey, what we normally do on this hole is not going to work right now because we have this headwind. But your opponent will not take the secondary shot that you would take when you've got unfavorable wind. They're so married to that shot that they will go for it when they could have done something different and had a really good result. And so when you're working on these, don't get married to one shot or the other. Be open to looking at it from different sides. Hole number 5, par 3. Let's go check out hole number 5. Okay, from the tee box here to our pin, drawing a straight line, we do have a rough bump right here. And we've got what I would consider a great rough bump. So if the wind is blowing like this, where we're pulling it in this direction, you could be anywhere on that. So your rough is going like this. So if the wind's blowing like this, you can be anywhere on that because you're pulling it out into the fairway. If the wind's blowing like this, where we have to pull it, what I don't like on these is where you have to pull into the sand, but look how wide that rough is. So if you've got to do this type of wind and you're on this side of the flat and you encounter the sand, what you could do is you could move it over to the left so that you're on this rough, so that when you make your wind adjustment, you're staying in the rough. You just have to change your spin a little bit to the cup. So once again, this is being flexible with variable wind instead of just being married to one spot up here. Now, this spot right here is good too, because you've got a much bigger rough, so you're coming at it from this angle and you'd have to put a little bit of spin on it to bring it back to the hole. So this is definitely going to end up being a hole where we're going to do a rough bump. Definitely. Kmart sucks. Definitely. For those of you that have never watched the movie, was it Rain Man? All right, I don't think we need a big ball here, but let's take a quasar, because it does look like we may, depending on where we set it up, we may need side spin. And if I need to, I will up that ball, just depending on where I'm at in my club. Where I'm at. These are brand new holes for everybody, so the whole deal is don't go out there. Be flexible enough that you can try out different sides. This is one of the reasons why we're playing in practice. We're paying for practice tokens to practice, and we're not getting any chests because most matches end up in a draw. So we're paying, and now we're not getting any chests, as opposed to where we are in tour play, where when we get the holes that are in the tournament, it's going to conclude in somebody winning that match and we're getting chests. I'm not a fan. I like the fact that we can go practice, but I'm not a fan of the fact that they don't have this in regular tour play. That was a pretty nonchalant setup there. Let's see where the hell we're at. And I'm just going to do straight up wind adjustments and not worry about it. I'm going to try and hit perfect, which I've hit some perfect today, but not very damn many. Yeah, there's max. There's man. So I'm at mid wood, which is about 1.1 per ring. And that's with a 1 power ball. So 2.6 divided by 1.1, just doing a straight up wind adjustment's about 2.4 rings. Yep, 2.4 rings. There's 2, 4. Now let's see if I can hit a shot perfect. Come on. Oh, my timing is just that little bit off. Once again, that's another one of those ones where I'm not sure we're going to have to do any adjustment, or if there is an adjustment, it's going to be very slight. And we're definitely going to be doing the rough bump on that. Definitely. See a lot of makeable holes in this. So, I mean, every hole we've played so far, it really is makeable. So this is going to be one of those wide open, crazy ass score tournaments, because I mean the par fours, it looks to me, the ones we played so far, it looks to me like there is opportunities to either get up close or get on, and you're going to have a pretty consistent shot with a very accurate club, one of your either your wedge or your short iron. And if you're in your short iron, you're going to be deep in your short iron. The par 5 looked very makeable. I think we're going to see some real low scores this week. Hole number 6, the next big par 5. Let's go look at it. Now, obviously, let's see if I can get the picture to go here. So let's draw some lines. It looks like the pin's like somewhere out in this area right here. So if we draw the line to the tee box, and yeah, that's a straight line. Let's see if I can get that straighter. Pretty straight. So that's the shot that we want to take. I mean, that's the shortest distance to the hole. I think obviously we want to make it over into this fairway somewhere. And this fairway over here is problematic because we have this fairway bunker. So depending on where we can get up there, to me the obvious choice here is to go from here, trying to use this as a launching pad to get me over, to bring me up into this fairway, watching out for the sand right here on the edge. But even if you can get up into this area right here, you're going to have plenty of fairway to work with. I don't think that there's going to be any rough bump opportunities going to the cup, so we're going to have to take a straight up shot to it. So just like eyeballing it, this to me seems the most consistent way that we can get up there, so that because here's the thing, it's not, your drive is nothing more than a delivery system to put you into a spot so that you have a consistent shot over and over and over and over and over to the cup. And so just by looking at this picture, not having played the hole, it looks to me like if you're going to this side right here, there is a bigger opportunity for trouble because of this fairway bunker. Whereas if you're going straight out into this area, you're going to get more consistence either in this spot right here, or if you're trying to get up here, it's going to be more consistent. And you're going to be more consistent just trying to get to this area, and maybe even doing what I did on that last hole, where you may have a first bounce here, and your second bounce you're rough bumping it out so that you're just clearing into the fairway. Trying to go from here out into here, this fairway bunker, or this bunker right here, is cutting this fairway in half. So getting your bounces consistent so that you're bouncing through that area may be more problematic. It's really important when you're trying to set up shots for your clubs is that you find a spot that you can get to consistently. Because the money shot here is the shot to the cup. Now, would you have a better shot if you could get up into an area like this? Yes, but it's better to be, every single time you play this hole, to be right here, so that you can really work on this second shot over and over and over and over again, than to try and get more out of it. And one time you're here, and the next time you're here, and the next time you're caught up there, and the next time you get caught up here, and the next time you're here. And so that maybe only 1 in 4 times or 1 in 3 times are you actually in the spot that you were looking for. I would rather be on the spot that I'm looking for every time, taking that money shot from the same spot. So we'll have to see where our red lines are at, because this side does look problematic because of that fairway bunker. But this hole also looks like it screams max overpower hook shot if you wanted to go, I don't know why I took a picture. If you wanted to go in this direction, there may be a max overpower hook shot, but once again, that fairway bunker blows. And they may have put that fairway bunker there just because of the max overpower hook. I've seen holes where they come out with brand new holes, and then all of a sudden we figure out a max overpower hook shot, and the next time, that a week later, they have an update for the game, or there's an update on those holes, and they put a tree in a certain spot, and that tree kills the max overpower hook shot. I can think of several holes in the game where that's the case. I'm going to just play it. We'll just play it, and I'll take a par 3 ball, and we'll see what happens. If I could hit some perfect shots, we could see what these look like on these par 3s, because I really think it seems to me like there's a lot of holes that if we have to make an adjustment, it's going to be very, very slight. Like there's not a lot of up or down movement. The course is pretty flat, which is fitting because Texas is pretty flat. Like there's a lot of spots in Texas where you can lay on your back and put your hand up in the air, and you're the highest spot for like 15 miles. They're showing mountains here, but I'm not sure where the hell those are at. So bigger power ball, we can get farther down into that area. Let's see what happens when we have a Titan. Titan, the king of balls. Just wondering, it might be better if If you had a bigger power ball and you're trying to get into that area, trying to go farther forward is would be definitely beneficial. I'm going to just take the shot from here and see what the deal is. See what it looks like from out in that second shot, because that's definitely going to be wood range from there. If that's the spot that we have to hit from, bringing out a bigger power ball and bringing out a big topper so that we can try and get more run on the other side might be beneficial. The problem with the big topper is that in this particular situation is that it doesn't have that raw distance. And going against the headwind's not helping us out if we wanted to get out here. If we had a tailwind, I would have tried a power 5 ball just so that I could have seen, like, if you max overpower, is there a chance to get over that sand? Definitely looks like this will be a common thread landing area. That's at max club. So what kind of distance? I'd need a little more distance, and I'd want to be more in this area right here. That would put me so that even with a power 3 ball, I'd have a good run. And you definitely want to bring a Kingmaker here. You want to bring something with 3 side spin. Because in order to get the angle on the cup, I'm what, 3/4 of a ring off of that rough. If you watch my stuff on a regular basis, I'm a big fan of staying a couple rings off. 3-2. Hitting it perfect. I was about 3/4 of a ring into overpower there. Close! And you can't replicate that because you have that curl in there. Anytime you have a shot that has curl in it. Now, I'm a big fan of either using no curl or max curl. And when we're doing drives, we use curl all the time. And we'll use a little bit of curl. But we have a lot of variance. So, you can over curl some shots. And so you have to make adjustments for that in the setup. Instead of being 2 rings off, you may be 3 rings off or 4 rings off so that when you put on the max curl so that you can be consistent. But whenever you're taking the money shot, which is the shot to the green, and you have to apply any kind of curl, it's super inconsistent. Because what's a quarter curl? Now, if you've got a grid, you can put tick marks on your grid. I use Material Q as my grid, and you can put tick marks in there. You can go put in custom tick marks so that, like, on that hole, that's, especially once you hit a shot, then you can go in there and put in custom tick marks to help you be more consistent with it. The problem with that is let's say you hit out to an area and you're at, I'm just picking a number out of the area, you're at 350. And then you hit one that's at 356. That means that the angle that you're to the cup is different than the angle that you were when you were at 350. And so that tick mark is not going to be exactly where it needed to be from the shot that you made when you were at 350. So if you're doing that, you want to be super consistent on your distance so that every single time you're at 350, 350, 351, 349, 350. As opposed to 356, 349, 358, because that's going to change that angle, and if you have to use curl. So I'm not a big fan of using curl. If we can pick it up with spin, that's better. And that, I think a 3 side spin ball would have definitely been beneficial right there. I'm going to play this hole again. And I'm not going to worry about timing out. I want to check out different balls, and hopefully we'll get, even if we just get a neutral wind. Why didn't I win something there? I won that hole, but I didn't win anything. That's all. This whole thing about not getting any chests when you win is BS. Let me check with my ball inventory here. So I'm just gonna pop out some balls just to see what the deal is. Let's play that hole one more time. Let's play hole number 6 one more time. And let me try out some different balls. And I don't care if I time out. I just want to see like what distances we get with balls. And hopefully we will get... I would really be okay with just a neutral wind right here. I don't necessarily want a head or a tail wind. I just want a neutral wind so that we can see where we're at with different balls. Let's see. Now we're getting the same wind. And that wind's pretty neutral. So if you're using a 3-power ball and this area out here is the best that you can get, you're probably going to be better served going to the cup with maybe a Cataclysm or a Big Dog. For most people, it's going to be a Big Dog. If you've got your Cataclysm to level 5, it kind of surpasses the Big Dog, and it's got a little bit better ball guide. So the Cataclysm becomes a better club. And that's going to be no freaking bueno. Now let's see where we're at. Okay, there's a power 3 ball. Let's just up that to a power 5 ball. And let's see what kind of distance we can get. So, I mean, it would be possible if you could catch that area, but you could bleed out into that with a power 5 ball. And I don't think we can do that with a power 3. And let me switch that power 3 to a Kingmaker. Let's see if I can get any more forward distance. Just trying to bump it out of the rough. Am I going to get caught? Whew, just barely made it. Boy, that's a dangerous ass shot. I could have helped myself out there a little bit by putting on just a slight bit of left-hand curl, but if you hit that grate to the right, that is sunk. And I didn't make any wind adjustments, so that pushed me over a ring. But let's see, like coming through that rough, if you're just bumping out into the rough and then bleeding out into the fairway, what kind of distance change that gives me to the cup, as opposed to just trying to hit it straight out. But if you're doing overpower, you're going to have less consistency with your shot, so there is going to be times where you get caught up in that rough, and you can see when you get caught up in that rough, you're toast. No, I did pick up a little bit of distance, but I picked up a little bit of an angle. Now, I like to be a couple rings off so that, I want to hit this shot perfect, but it doesn't always work out that way. It's max, so it's 3-3. 3 1/3 rings. There's 3. There's 2.5. There's 3-3. Getting it perfect. Let's see what kind of run we can get to the cup. In the hole! And it does seem flat. It doesn't seem like we're having to do any adjustments here. Just like taking your straight up wind adjustments. In the hole. And I didn't, and here I get an Albie and I didn't win a chest. I won that. So like that's what 3 or 4 holes that I've won and I haven't gotten anything from it. And I had to pay to play that hole. What a bunch of BS. All right, hole number 7. I'll get off my soapbox. Doesn't that seem wrong though? Am I the only one? So hole number 7, this is a par 4. So the question here, once again, am I seeing a lot of holes here where we're doing like a a rough bump with our driver, just trying to bleed out into an area. If you could get out into here, where you could get your topspin to work yourself over to the other side, look at the angle that we have here. Let's draw some lines going from the pin to the tee box. So clearing this area right here, if we're trying to get out into here so that we could try and bring it around this side of the sand trap, we've got a pretty narrow area. If we're coming at it from this side, we're still going to have to do a shot, and unless you could get your bounces to bounce to get over that sand trap, that seems problematic. I think trying to get maybe up into this area, up in here, starting off here, trying to do some curl to bring it up. Depending on where we can get out here, where we intersect this rough transition, this may be a shot to do with your quarterback or your rock, because you could start off up here and then try and curl it around to get some depth so that you can come at it and shorten the distance to the cup, or whether or not we can get over to the other side. So let's set up several deals here. I'm going to bring a power 3 ball, and I'm going to take either my number 1 or number 2 bag. Let's see what I have in my number 2 bag. I'm going to switch this out. And I'm gonna bring a Titan. Let's see what we can get done with the Titan. It looked to me like no matter which area I'm coming at it from, it's going to be a pretty straight up shot where I'm not going to have to use a lot of curl to bring it to the cup. Let's see if I can hit one of these par 4s perfect. It looked to me like on the other 2 par 4s, if I'd have hit the shot perfect into the cup, it would have been in just with a straight up wind adjustment. Of course, I didn't hit them perfect, so we don't know, but it was real close. It was off to the right or the left, pretty much one shot, one ring great to the left or the right, so it's pretty damn close. Here we go. No, that club's not going to work. Whew. So you could bring out a bigger power ball to try and get over into that, onto the other side there. Especially if you had any kind of favorable wind, but I'm not sure. Let's see. If we ran all of our tops in, could we get over to the other side? We could do a double rough bump onto the other side. See if I can bump it out of that rough. If with that kind of headwind, I'm not sure I got enough. Can I bump it out? Bumped it out. Just trying to get over to that side, doing that rough bump. That looks to me like, let's look at that distance. Is that going to put me? That may put me in the short iron, but it's going to be max short iron or minimum long iron. It's going to be right there. And this is one of those areas, depending on your clubs and depending on where you're consistently getting, you may have some red line issues in between clubs. And what the hell are you doing, dude? Are you doing a hook? All right. All right. There we go. I have to go back and look at how they set that shot up because I wasn't paying attention. I was just like, what are they doing? Okay, Grizzly. There's Max Grizzly. There's Min Grizzly. So I'm about mid club. What is my mid Grizzly? 1.1 per ring. Do I have enough backspin? Barely. .1. There's 2.2. That leaves me 6. So it's about 2.5 rings. Two and a half and maybe a smidget. That's a technical term. Oh, that was 70 rings great to the right. So that is one way we could do it. We could do that. And that's going to be super dependent on wind. Now my opponent's got a clear up shot. Now what I like about my opponent's shot is that they don't have to worry about backspin. I didn't really like having to put all that backspin on the shot. I typically like to come into a cup where anytime you can come in where you can just put on like one backspin, and then you can adjust the shot for the one backspin. What the one backspin will do is when it hits, it's not necessarily bringing the ball to a stop. What it'll do is it'll slow the ball down and then it'll release really good, and you can roll off to the cup, and you have really good control of how it's rolling out. When you have to use a bunch of backspin, depending on the wind that you're in, it may roll, it may come to a stop a lot faster than you really want it to. It's not going to roll out. But in that spot where I was at, I had to put that much on just to clear it. I liked my opponent's angle a little bit better. Now my opponent got it done with the power 0 ball, but you may want to bring out a bigger power ball just for the second shot so that you're in a better spot in your club. Maybe, maybe not. You'll have to work all that out for the clubs that you have in your bag. That's the whole thing about it, is when you watch people's videos and you're like, they go, well, this is the way to do it. Well, that's the way to do it if you have that club or if you have that ball. Let's play that hole again. Let's play that hole one more time. Hold on one second. All right, I'm back. Once again. Drinking coffee, talking to a man about a horse. Come on. Let's play that one more time. Let's I think we're gonna get that same crappy wind. So let's play it. I did that little rough bump. I'm gonna try and hit more over to where my opponent hit and see what that shot looks like. Obviously, the closer you can get on these, the closer you can get, the better, because a 100% accurate sniper versus a short iron, you've got a much higher percentage chance of making it with a short iron or a long iron than you do with a wood, or getting into your wedge range versus getting into your short iron range. The closer you can get, the better off it's going to be, and this is definitely a better wind. It's too bad you couldn't make it into that area. With your rock, because you could, or a quarterback, because you could curl it up into this area. There's another par 5 in the game. I can't remember what, I think it's in Tour 4 right now. I can't remember what course it's on, but where you can come in there and you can go to the right and really curl it around. Uh-oh. That shot right there, while that shot, how it ended up, is awesome. That is definitely low percentage as far as like consistency. So my opponent hit up into this area right here. And I'm not, man, I just think you got to get closer. And the closer the better. So 2-9. I'm gonna put a little curl on it just to. I should have switched to a bag that had a Saturn in it. Uh-oh. And then I was able to clear it. So you can see that tailwind affects the ball a lot more than what it looked like it was going to. So I was a couple rings into the rough, even in max overpower, which would be 4.2 miles per hour wind, and that was a 2.9 tailwind, and the 2.9 tailwind was able to push me over to the other side so that I actually hit the fairway instead of doing the rough bump. That tells me that wind is, if we're dealing with a headwind, it's definitely going to affect the ball more if you've got one, if you're setting up a shot. Ooh, And I was able to do it with a 3 power ball. They did it with a 5. I'll have to go back and watch the video on this and see like where I was at and how I did that. That's once again, that's one of the benefits of recording your own gameplay. So I'm at max rapier, which is at 1.2 per ring. So 3 divided by 1.2 is 2.5 rings. I'm going to put on 1 backspin. Get right up to it. 2.5 rings. See if we can get the angle right. There's 2.5. Now let's see if we can hit this perfect. Hitting it perfect. Off the flagpole. And I came at it a little bit on the right hand side, so the wind was blowing in that direction, so there might be just a slight, like maybe a 0.1, 0.2 adjustment. I think Golf Clash has gotten really too tricky with all of the adjustments on the holes. When we first started playing, there's slight adjustments, but you know, pretty much the wind was the wind. The wind is the one thing that Playdemic can really manipulate. And they're ball manufacturers, so they can manipulate the wind in such a way that, and then how, you know, like if it's blowing from this direction, you're going to have to make this adjustment. Can't trust them damn ball manufacturers. All right. I'm not sure that was like total luck because I wasn't anticipating to hit the fairway to get over. But, you know, if you can get over into that area, I think you'll find yourself, that could be very problematic. Like my goal there was just to clip the rough again and end up out in this area. But I think if you're ending up out in this area and you're coming at it from this direction, you're going to need a club that's got good backspin, because you've got a pretty short distance from here to the cup. If you're out where my opponent was at on the first round, where you're out in this area coming at it, you've got more green, more fairway to work with, so you can run the ball up. But you're in a wood versus a long iron. And I think like getting up into this area, it's going to be so problematic to try and get up into here so that we have a straight up shot that you're probably running into just as much trouble as if you were trying to bounce it over. The thing I don't like about trying to bounce it over and working that in so that you're getting the bounce to get over is this water right here. Because this is out of bounds, and out of bounds blows. I mean, you end up in the drink, you're done. So while I liked it from over here, I'm not sure that that's the, I don't know. I think depending on ball and depending on which way the wind's blowing, that may be a shot that we explore. But I think more than often we're going to find ourselves in this spot right here, and we'll probably need a club with good backspin. Saturn. I was able to get it done with my Grizzly, and I did have some good ball guide there. Especially if you're dealing with a headwind, and it did lay it down quite a bit. So this is a hole that I'll have to explore as the week goes on. And I'm not sure that this hole is as obvious what to do as the other ones, because of where our red line issue is. If we could get our rock up into this area or a QB so that we could curl it around the corner, it'd be a different story. But we're barely able to get to this area with a power 5 ball. And if we don't have any tailwind, it's this hole right here is going to take a little bit of work. And I'm not sure, you could do a max overpower hook shot, I suppose, from this side right here, trying to catch this window. Because where our red line was at in this, we might be able to catch this window and then bring it around this way. But that's problematic too, because once again, we've got this drink. If you roll out forward and you don't catch it all, you're ending up in the drink, and you're not going to get that bounce effect to get over to the other side. You're just going to roll into the drink. But I did like the angle that my opponent had from my hair. I just don't want to have to take that with a bigger club with the wood. This hole will have some work being done on it this week. I may do some research on that hole to find out, like, see what other people are playing on it. And it may just be one of those ones. All right, hole number 8. What is hole number 8? The par 3. All right, once again, we got a rough bump area that we can do here. Anything coming from this side coming over is going to require curl. So our choices are clear. We could bounce. Now, I don't see myself ever wanting to bounce from here over to that area, but you could bounce from this area here and bring it over. That's shot number 1. That's option number 1, is to do this. Option number 2 would be a rough bump, and option number 3 is to go straight at it. I think most people are going to probably be in the option number 2, but you'll need a club with topspin. You could use a Saturn or Grizz, or let's go check it out. I'm not sure what ball we'll have to use here. I'll be dependent on red line. It's typically dependent on red line, and if you have any special balls, low wind balls, it could be dependent on those. So like you've got some power 2 low winds. Those are the ones you have. You don't have any power 0. You don't have any power 1s. You have power 2 low wind. You know, trying to set it up so that you can utilize one of your low wind balls. Sometimes you'll find with like a 0 power ball or a 1 power ball, just for instance, and I don't know how this will play out, but like you're using a power 1 ball and you're not quite at mid club. You're in between mid and max. So you actually need a little bit more power, so you're more in the mid. Or you're using a bigger power ball and you want to set it up so that you're more into, because I don't really like being in between, where you're in between mid max or you're in between mid min. It's always better to be like right on it. But sometimes you're setting the shot up and you want to have a little bit of variance. So you know, like, hey, if I bring a katana, I'll be kind of in between mid and max. And so if I get this kind of wind, I can still make a wind adjustment. But if I have that kind of wind, it would be better to use this ball, because then it puts me right on it. What I'm basically trying to say is that you can play, you got to be willing to be flexible. Okay, there's minimum sniper. There's max. So I'm pretty close to min or mid. And mid is what is mid? Mid sniper is 1.2. So 4.2. 3.5 rings. See if we can hit it perfect. Hitting it perfect. Let's see where it ends up. Just a little bit short. And it started to drift off to the right just a little bit right there at the very end, but once again, I think just a straight up wind adjustment. And I knew I was going up against that headwind, so I ran my tail just a little bit farther through the cup than I normally would, but you're going uphill right there and you got a headwind. So just a little bit more through the hole. What's up, baby? Oh. What's up, Buster? What's up, Itsy Bitsy? What are you puppies doing? What are you puppies doing? Yes, you just got up. Yes. All right, that was hole number 8. I think we got a straight. I think right there the rough bump is definitely the way to go. And let me look here. That was mid club with a. Was I using a Titan? I was using a Titan. So if I was using a lower power ball, I would have been more towards max club. And so bringing out a Kingmaker there might be good. Cut the wind down a little bit, keep you at the mid club. The thing I like about mid club is that you can work out the wind, whether it's headwind or tailwind. Whereas if you're right at max and you get a headwind, you may not be able to, it may be problematic to work the wind out. So if we knew that the wind was going to be a certain direction all the time, then we could bring a ball accordingly and we wouldn't have to make any changes. But using a ball that puts you at mid club so that you can always work out the wind and you can stay consistent from one hole to the, or from one round to the next, might be beneficial. So I might think of using a Kingmaker on that, or some other 3-power low wind ball. Where are we at? Hole number 9. Let's go check out hole number 9. All right, hole number 9 is a big par 5. Where are we going to get here? So the obvious choices is like looking at from the green to the tee box. We're obviously not going to go that way. You know, can we get out into this area and bring it across this and try and get some distance up in here? Or is our shot really just going out to the tip? So if we're going out to the tip out here, there's a fairway bunker right here. Let's see if I can get that. Hey. So if we got out to this tip from where the cup is, I think we could actually hit ourselves too far out here, so that when we're trying to make the shot to the cup, we've taken ourselves out of the range. Whereas if we're more out into this area, we might have a shot at it, but we've got this much extra distance. And where we're at out here, as far as our red line goes, we could end up getting pinched against the rough on the left-hand side. I mean, obviously, if we could get over to this fairway right here, no matter where we got over to this fairway, we would have a clearer shot to the cup. So if we draw a line from the cup to the trees, coming straight back, you know, anything on this side of the line, we don't have to use any curl or side spin. Anything over on this side, we're going to have to bring a ball that's got side spin. So I think just like looking at the hole and kind of making some, you know, a game plan before I even play it the first time, a higher side spin ball is definitely going to be beneficial. But I think that you can overhit coming up into here. Now this is, like I said, the obvious area to hit is up into here, but I think we could overhit that and actually put ourselves in a bad spot. It looks like this area here might actually be a better angle. But now we've got that distance issue. I'm going to take a sniper just so that I can see what the distance stuff is, but we'll have to, let's just go play it. Let's go play. I'm going to take a, let me take a couple bags here. I mean, I'm going to switch to a Kingmaker just because I think the shot going into the cup is probably going to be a little more problematic. And it's probably going to be one of these 3 bags. But if I hit with this bag, I don't necessarily know that I will need to bring a Cataclysm. I'm going to switch it to a sniper just so that we can see what it looks like with a lower ball and then make our decision from there. This may be one of those par 5s that you need to bring out a long hitting wood, and you may need to bring out a big dog or a Cataclysm. Those are your 2 choices. A Horizon. A Horizon hits a long ways. It's got great ball guide, but it's totally inaccurate. Now here's where the accuracy comes in, especially for those of you that are new and you're looking at the accuracy and you're doing the thing and it's like, oh, you know, I just hit it 1 ring great to the left or the right. Let's say, hey, it's okay. It's just the male lady. Let's say you're hitting a sniper, or let's talk about drivers. Well, let's talk about woods. You're hitting a sniper and you hit it 1 ring great to the left or the right. It's 1 mile per hour of wind. But if you're using a Horizon, especially if you've got a lower developed one, and it's like 2.4 or 2.5, so you hit it 1 ring great to the left or the right, you're 2.5. So like if you were thinking of how you adjust your sniper, that's 2.5 rings that you hit it off to the left or the right. So if you hit it perfect, it's perfect. But if you hit that sucker great to the left or the right, it is not perfect. Now they used a Titan, no overpower, and ended up in that area. So if we bring out a bigger power ball, I think we can end up getting up in there. And I don't think if we come from this side, we're going to have to worry about Let's see where that second bounce is at. Now we got a 4.5 mile an hour, and I almost can't use the. I'm going to do a max overpower. It's 2.0 per or 2.1 per ring, so it's a little over 2 rings. Let's just see what it does. Hitting it perfect. And see if I can bring it up. See if it'll clear the deal and bring it up into that fairway. I like the fact that we can use our big topper there, because we will get with the extra mile. We may not have to do any overpower with the extra mile to get it over there. And this is the hole. I'm going to play this hole again too. And see what different options I have. But the fact that we can get up into that area right there is huge. From the rough to the sand. No, they were in the fairway. Are they in the fairway? Okay, where am I at in my grizzly? And there's Min. There's Max. So I'm about mid grizzly. What is mid grizzly? 1.1 per ring. So that's about a 3 ring pull. I'm going to put on 1 backspin. Just give myself a little bit of control. And I'm going to need to put on a little bit more. 1.5. It's right at about 3 rings. I'm a little off on my angle. Hitting it perfect. Had to snap it off. I think I was running out of time. Just a bit outside. So that was a slight overpull. Just doing a straight up adjustment. And this green may be slightly uphill from that area. Are you puppies looking to get inside? Hold on. All right, I'm going to play that hole one more time. I want to see. Let's see if we'll get. We had a tailwind there, and I was able to work the wind out. So that means I have a little bit of room. Let's practice that one more time. Now. All right, let's practice it one more time. And if I do get that similar shot to the cup, I may take a little bit of wind off and see if that makes a difference. We'll see which way the wind's blowing. We'll see. I'm not going to worry too much about timing out here. I want to see like where we can get with different balls. So let's pull out a power 4 and power 5 ball and see like what our options are here. If I time out, I'll switch back to a white ball so I don't waste a ball. I was out practicing one day with my teammate Mike Day, and we were dinking around and we were trying out different balls, and we burned like 4 power 5 balls because we were like trying stuff out and seeing like what the distances were, and then freaking forgot to switch the ball. Dumbasses. Now, I think almost you may have to put on overpower, otherwise you're going to clip that. Let's see if they can make that over. Now they left the wind in, so they easily cleared it. I don't want to listen to this person, so let's turn them off. Now let's check out what it would look like with an apocalypse being in this area. So you can see, like, if we were up there, we can get over the deal, over the rocks. So an extra mile up into this area with that kind of wind, we can easily get over the rocks. And I think in this situation, I don't have to use any overpower. Hit it one ring right to the left. Whoo! That barely made that. I almost, that one ring right to the left right there, almost. So I think on that drive right there, you probably want to think of doing a little bit of a plus for the wind. I took out a ring and a half, which is 3.1, 3.1 and a half miles per hour. I gave myself a couple rings of separation, and I, one ring right to the left, and I damn near clipped that rough. So that wind is definitely carrying it into that hole a little bit farther. So that's the hole. You're going downhill, and you've got that kind of wind. So the green may be uphill. I'm going to do a 0.9 times. I'm going to take off 10% of the wind and see what happens. Let's see if it appears that we're uphill. I mean, it does look like we're a little uphill right here. So there's max. There's min. So I'm right at mid club. Mid club once again is 1.1, so it'd be times 4.1 equals divided by 1.1. It's 3.35 rings. I'm going to do that 1.5 backspin, eking towards 2. So it's 3.35 rings. So there's 3. There's 3, 2.5. There's 3, 3, 5. Hitting it perfect. And I took 10% off on the wind. In the hole! That's what I'm talking about. It does look like that green is elevated from the fairway out there, and it looks like that fairway's downhill on the drive. So I would think about, that's all 3 par 5s getting Albies the first time I've ever played them. Look at the deal. What's the deal? So, and the other 2, it seemed like it was just a straight up shot. You didn't have to do any plus. So it does look to me like, as far as course goes, like here's the tee box, here's the first fairway area, and then we're coming up to the flagpole. So it does look like when you're doing this shot, you may need to add on a little bit. And when you're doing the shot here, you may need to take off a little bit, because this seems to be downhill from the cup. But I think getting over into that area, doing that type of shot. Now the thing I liked about with the extra mile right there was that I didn't have to do any overpower like I did with the big topper. But I was still in about the same point in my club down here. So I think getting over into this area right here, if we've got a serious headwind, we may need to bring out a power 4 ball for the first shot so that we can get into the area to clear it. But if we bring out a power 4 ball and we end up in that area out here, instead of being at pretty much mid club, we may be more towards min club on the second shot. So on your notes, you want to make sure you write down, if you do use the power 4 ball and you're in a different part in your club, write down your club number. If you use the app, you'll just be able to plug it in. But if you're using numbers by hand, you want to have numbers already written on your notes so you don't have to look at or figure it out. It's just already on them. All right, that was a look. That was the first time I played the Wiseacre course. First time looking at it. It seems to me that every stinking hole in there, except for maybe that last par 4, you can put yourself into a pretty easy spot with not a lot of effort, not using any special balls, to give yourself a really good shot of picking up something on, there's 8 of the holes there. The par 3s looked like they were pretty straightforward. And the first 2 par 4s look like they were pretty straightforward. And all 3 par 5s, I think we have serious opportunities. Now, if you end up in any trouble on those, then, that changes the whole deal. But if you can put your drive into the right spot, it seems like you've got pretty good opportunities on at least 8 of the 9 holes. And that 1 par 4, I'm going to do some research on it and talk to my teammates and see what the deal is on that. But I first impressions, this is going to be a low scoring tournament. So you really want to make sure you got your notes strapping. And what we don't want to do when you come to these holes is be wishy-washy on it. You want to have notes so that when you go to that hole, you know, hey, I need this club and this ball, and this is my secondary club for my shot to the green, and this is what I'm going to do, so that when you get there, you're just playing the hole. You're not going, damn, this hole is really tough, and because you don't want to have any doubt when you take that shot. You don't want to be like rolling the dice and go, okay, I hope this works out. I don't want to hope that it works out. I want it's going to work out. I definitely see that there's no give-me's here. So minimum score is -12, but the way that it works in the tier stuff, you know, minimum score -12 in a full round -24. There are so many opportunities to pick up shots that I can easily see it being 26 to 28 just to make the weekend round. So you're going to have to work really good on this. The one thing I do like is that I didn't see on a lot of these holes where we're going to have to make any big adjustments. There's nothing that's super downhill or super uphill. Any adjustments that we make to our wind are going to be pretty slight, pretty mild. So that's the good news. All right. That was a preview, walkthrough, practice round for the summer major. I'm really disappointed that we can't go into one of the tours and play so that we can win chess, because that I think it's just total BS that you don't win any chess when you're practicing. You got to pay for it. We can't play it in regular tour play where we could actually win some chess on it. And I'm not really a big fan of that. One of the things I like about Golf Clash is that you either win, and I know people were, you know, oh, they're just forfeiting when we used to have to play shootouts. What cracks me up is that people were bitching that somebody was giving them a chest. I mean, think about that. They were bitching because I gave them a chest. Did it slow it down a little bit? Yes. But if they want to speed it up and they don't want it to slow it down, then we shouldn't have to play somebody. We go out there and play the hole by ourselves. They've had to do a bunch of patches for people, like somebody forfeits out there and then you end up not getting to take that Albie shot, or it screws your round up because they forfeit. If they want to make it so that they don't have those problems, then we're not going to win anything. And people are bitching about it slowing the game down, then why aren't we just out there playing the round by ourselves? We take a shot, we take a shot, we take a shot, we're done with that hole, we go to the next one. That'll speed the whole thing up. And if we're not going to win anything anyways, then make it so that we don't win anything anyways. All right, I'm off my soapbox. Have a great week. I'm going to attempt to play this all the way through this week. I will go back and watch this video, and I will make some notes so that I have some qualifying notes and then go in there. I may just go in the first day and qualify and use it as a practice round, just so that I can get a little bit more feel for the holes instead of having to use the tokens for it. But we'll see how it goes, and I may qualify on Tuesday or Wednesday, but I will attempt to post videos all week long for the Summer Major. Everybody have good luck, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.